recording in here. And you are good to go.
All right. We're back on Terry and Gary's Low Expectations podcast. Today we have Red Wings superstar grindliner Darren McCarty.
Hello, hello. Happy to be here with you guys, and I got very low expectations.
You must have come back.
I got bigger expectations for the councilman treasurer down there, but you and I, I just want to say I'm a big fan of the show, and you guys have been keeping it really, really low. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I mean, they brought me on. You don't get any lower than that. So.
And speaking of our other guest, Rohit Raju from Superstar Wrestler from Impact Wrestling. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's the jaw jacking Tuesday Night Impact, and his mother called him son because he shines like one. Mocha-skinned mammal ravishing Rohit Raju. How are you guys?
I have nothing to say after that.
I got blood flow. I just want to say I got a little bit of blood flow.
So. Got you pumping, baby.
Hey, take it away, Terry. I'm going to get this shared.
Well, that makes two of us. I've got some flow too. But hey, you're raising the expectation of this. You're raising the exptation of this podcast, Rohit.
Okay, my bad. But I'll keep it down.
Right?
You got those traps, those delts pop. You're raising the expectation of this. You're raising the expectation of this podcast, Rohit.
Okay, my bad. But I'll lower it. I'll keep it down.
Gary, what do you got there? Delts pop.
And we're live.
Trying to get this shared on all of our sites here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Unless you want to do it.
No. I was just me do it. It'd go right into the gutter.
Thank you.
No, we could hear we heard the back.
Yeah, I was just trying to add a little spice to the, podcast. Can't all be about heat,
Right.
There you go. Attaboy, Gary, bringing it back down to earth. Right down there into the gutter again.
We do.
Yeah. So there we go. Hey, I'm gonna try to share it too. So, but anyways, let's Darren, thank you for coming back on again. We always appreciate when you come on, and you were in the studios, which was great, and and all that stuff. And Rohit, this is your first time on the show.
Yes, sir.
What got you into wrestling?
My first memory of professional wrestling, my dad was watching TV. He was flicking through the channels, and they were showing clips of the Road Warriors versus the Koloffs in a Russian chain match. And I was just like, what is this? And at the time, Mad Max Fury Thunderdome was big. Of course, the Road Warriors look like they're obviously straight out of Mad Max, obviously the Road Warrior. So I was hooked, and they were larger than life. And then I ran into the WWF, which was larger than life characters. Everybody was jacked. Conan, Arnold Schwarzenegger was big back then. It was 80s, obviously. So that is what got me hooked. And I never stopped watching, never stopped imitating people, never stopped trying to be a professional wrestler. And then years later, I got a chance to go train, and the rest is history.
Cool. Now, obviously, we've had a little bit of stuff in the past few weeks and stuff, but we'll keep it professional here, And I just have to say, you brought me to say a comment about a tag team partner, and apparently a lot of people want to see Heath Slater come into Impact. We had him on last week. I'm not gonna let any cats out of the bag, but I think he'd be a really good addition. And the match.
Is this where we start voting? I vote yes. I mean, are we practicing for November? Is this how we're going to start with the Heath Slater and prove that we can? Yes, please bring him back. Impact would be perfect.
Yeah, bring him on so I can.
This is one wrestling fan.
Yeah, bring him on so I can whoop him too. You can let him know that. So.
Fucking chocolate all over him, man. Do it, bababy.
I'll be sure to tell him. But yeah, you've always been on the radar ever since you started. You're just so.
Sound went out on my end.
I lost you, Terry.
Low
expectations.
Right. No, I got someone calling me. So, but anyways, I got someone wanting to spend money down here at the boatyard. So.
Hey.
Take the boatyard. Yes.
Right. So, no, the thing is you've always been on the radar, and once I seen you started with Impact, I knew you were going to be so successful. And to be able to get in the ring and mix it up with you, I feel, you know, a little honored because, you know, we've wrestled before on the indies, and I knew you were talented for such a long time. So, but it's nice to be able to get in there and work with you on TV too. So, you know,
Yeah.
you gotta learn not to lay it in so much.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
It's calling me snug.
Yeah. What's it mean, Darren? It means that he thinks it's real.
Oh, that right. There's a fine line, right? Where you've explained that to me being whatever like that. But that, let me ask you this from a fan to both of you, because you do that. And that might go back to the conversation earlier about no fans and fans, but is that more of the moment and the character and what you're trying to get across in your story that would happen, or is it more of a learned thing, or is it?
I think a little bit of both, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I might have said something that pissed them off in the locker room.
It wasn't you. It was management.
Oh, okay.
It's management. It pissed me off.
Thank you. I'm glad it's nothing personal. It's just business. So.
Which happens everywhere, I guess, right?
Right.
Because it's the same thing back in the day. You know, Scotty would do it on purpose, Scotty Bowman, just to get a rile out of it. But he had to, that's where I think that, you know, obviously the culture, and we're talking about the culture in hockey or the culture in wrestling, and you guys are talking because you're both at Impact right now. It's what comes down from the top, because that can affect what's out and seen by us fans. And sometimes it's not the guy you're wrestling, even though the storyline will present it, but it's all the stuff that we don't know behind the scenes. Is that fair?
Right. I'd have to agree with that, you know. And you know, it's funny because you learn some of the stuff behind the scenes, and you're like, oh, things start making sense now, you know. So
I think that's hey, as long as you can tell me no, but you give me an explanation of why this is why it is, then I can respect it or not. But it helps me get along with the program or whatever than saying, well, why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this because of that. You know, I don't agree with it, but I get it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about, right? The most thing that I hear from you guys that do this professionally, because it's about the pop, right? And I learned that the pop is like the crowd when you get the storyline and you get that audience. That's why it's like, has it been weird, or have you like learned something new without the audience? Has it made you become better wrestlers?
I think more character driven, because at first you go out there, it is weird. Your adrenaline isn't going. You take that first bump, you get hit that first time. You're just like, Jesus, what are we doing? And then after a while, you realize, you know, you just up your character a little bit more, because the audience is now at home and the story is being told in the ring. So you have to do it. To me, it's a little bit better because you get to add a little bit more Shakespeare to your match. The match is still good. Everyone's still working hard just because we're professionals, and you go out there and it's like riding a bike. You know, when it's still competitive and you still want to be the best in there. And then now you're just you're playing to the camera a little bit more. You're talking to the camera a little bit more. You're saying certain things when you walk out during your entrance, just to hit that story home a little bit more than you would. And plus the announcers, they do their job by adding to the story too. At first, yes, it is weird because, you know, nowadays you're playing in front of a crowd, that adrenaline's going, you're like, oh yeah, okay, let's go. And at first it's not like that. And you take that first big slam, you're just like, oh man. And then after a while you start cooking and it's business as usual, for me at least.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but it's a lot easier to take a punch to the face when there's a hot chick in the stand.
Yeah, exactly. Man up real quick.
Right? You know, like that different motivate, like that's the different, and that's why things like I guess, what do they call it? The don't break the fourth eye or the third eye, where you look at the camera and talk to the audience, you know?
Oh, like, yeah, the fourth wall,
fourth wall or whatever like that. But like what you said, it's changed. The coronavirus and the pandemic sort of changed where that's sort of brought in. If it's done right, it's acceptable. You know, I use Drew McIntyre, you know, because he'd be in the WWE or whatever, being the champion, but the way how he did it, and you guys could relate to more because of the grind, right?
Yeah.
And just because of the story. So, I mean, it's always interesting for me to talk to fellow professionals. And then what's the thing? Because both of you guys have been doing it still. What is your major malfunction to go in there and take the bumps and stuff like that?
I don't know. I still ask myself that every day with a lot of things that I do. Like, what is wrong with you? Why do you do these things? So I don't know. I just roll with it now.
Yeah.
Well, that's self-awareness, bro. I love that, because that's just like, yo, bro. Oh, wow. This might hurt a little bit more than I thought it hurt.
Yeah.
Definitely hurts a lot more when there's not a crowd when there's not a crowd there. So, but yeah.
Without a crowd, you got to be more careful as far as like how you do things, or is it just balls to the wall once you're out there, just going at it? Or are you trying to be more careful with how you set things up and how you talk to each other out there? Or
I think it's more of a TV show, because you can actually stop and you can be like, wait, hold on, do that again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Unlike
Hey,
when you're in front of a crowd, it's live.
stopped.
No,
We
we kept going.
And this is how I talk.
Look at those hams. Look at that. 2 Christmas hams for hands there. Catches
Right.
this.
Well, one's Christmas and one's Thanksgiving. Which one do you have?
I felt both, so there you go.
I got the hospital and the graveyard. Which one
Those are
going
worse.
for?
Garrett, what do you got?
I don't have anything.
Are those really hands, bro? Are those even, what do you wear? Extra small ladies' mittens?
Size 6.
See, that's what I love about wrestling, dude, is the microphone.
That's my favorite.
It's the characters, and the more that you
If you're good at it.
understand, like you said, you're a wrestler, and you brought up the Shakespearean acting part, which to some people wouldn't realize that it's like the craft of the story. And if you go longer into the story or the character or the different characters then you guys are always telling a story. I think I've asked you this, Rhino, but who are your influences, or like that you wanted, like when you watch? And I just noticed this because I watched Shawn Michaels and Psycho Sid last night on the Survivor suit that was on.
Right.
And, you know, watching all the stuff with the last ride with the Undertaker and different things, is to really watch it differently, but more understanding, wow, what an athlete Shawn Michaels is. You know what I'm saying? Like why you guys say it's like, oh, one of the greatest ever, and then it's like, but why is he one of the greatest ever? Or why do you like that person? You know?
Right. Yeah, it's just some of my great people that influenced me when I got into the business, like Rick Martel. I was able to work with him up in Winnipeg, and even having some matches with guys I just talked to beforehand or afterwards, like Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. I learned a lot off of him, even though it was just one match. And it just gives you, like when you get on the ice with people that you watch and legends, and even if you're just skating with them a little bit and they're not playing no longer, and they're giving you advice or stuff, and it's one of those things where it goes a long ways. And when I was a kid watching, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, it's funny. I'll watch, now I was just watching Rick Rude and Sting, and I was watching Rick Rude and I forget who it was. Hercules, when Hercules turned babyface. And, now it seems like I appreciate their work more, when they're on the mic, they're, talking their stuff, and, they were heels. I didn't really watch their, ability, but you watch them and you're like, wow, these guys are really talented. And, and now I kind of look at the heels a little bit more, because when I was a kid, I didn't really look at the heels. I just always, the baby faces. And then when I got into wrestling, I still kind of looked at their work opposed to the heels. And, now I really like watching the heels work and stuff. So, but yeah, definitely the honky tonk man. I loved the honky tonk man as a kid. He was the first heel I ever liked. Because I
You
love
like being a heel better?
What's that?
Do you like being a heel or a baby face? What do you guys like best?
Babyface now, but when I first started out, I liked being a heel because it was easy to get people to hate you. So, you know that feeling, Gary, right?
I'm getting it from Darren right now. Look at those eyes. He's just looking at me.
He's like, I really want to punch
Hey, all I'm
that.
thinking about is that
Woman's
hey,
mittens.
Rhino, all I'm thinking about is Gary better. You owes me Mexican restaurant there
We're
next
gonna
time.
get you go Maya.
I mean, he's not getting away with it. I'm just thinking of that.
Right.
That's the only reason he does our podcast is for Mexican food.
That's it.
Yeah.
And everybody would do it the same if they.
Well, don't
You got the
give our
Mexican
secrets.
place.
Don't give our secrets away.
Right.
What about you? Babyface or heel?
Oh, heel all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make a good heel.
Yeah, I like being a piece of POS. I enjoy being that, Nice guy. I can be. I try to tolerate so much outside in the real world. So it's when I'm in the ring, it's just like, you know what I mean? I get to be the biggest scum on earth, and I love it. And then just talking crap to fans and stuff like that, and watch them get all riled up. I love it. It's so much fun.
So you bring that real life frustration into the ring.
Oh, hell yeah, I do. I channel all my stuff. Like the best character to me is you turned up to, what they always say is like you turned up a few notches. So, and that's what I do. I take all the crap, and frustrations out or stuff that I'm frustrated in with wrestling, and I put it all in my promos and my work. And it's just that way it comes across so authentic because it kind of is. And then you relate, I believe it because it is what it is. And then you believe it because it comes across realistic. Like you're like, man, this guy's really, he has a problem. He's very frustrated. So there it is, I going back to what T was saying. I think wrestling nowadays there's more of a, I guess, focus on athleticism, which is really cool. But to me, that promo is missing. 30 years from now, we're still going to be talking about Macho Man, Ric Flair, Austin, The Rock, Dusty, all these guys that could talk and tell the great story. I don't think there are guys right now in this day and age that are that big. To me, John Cena was the last guy that transcended professional wrestling. He was like a superstar because he could control the crowd with the microphone. But then whether you liked him or not, you still watched his matches because you either wanted to see him win or you wanted to see him lose. You were invested. I don't know why there isn't people like that anymore, but that's why I focus on my work. I'm not as athletic as these guys nowadays. So all my stuff is quick moving strikes and talking on the microphone whenever I get a chance. And that's where I want to excel because to me, no one puts that attention on the promo anymore. They put that attention on, well, what cool things can I do in the ring? Mine would rather be, give me the microphone. I'll tell the story there. Because look at Rock versus Austin. Look at any of their matches. It's not like dip, duck, down, here, this, that, and the other. It's punch, 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 spell the outside, punch, punch, punch. Okay, duck one, Thez, wham, 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 maybe a backdrop right back to it. And then all the cool stuff happens at the end. But they built that story with those promos and that just heat between each other. You couldn't wait to see them get in the ring. To me, that'll always stand the test of time. I love watching a great athletic contest. I love that. But even Steamboat and Flair, the promos leading up to it, even Steamboat Savage, the promos, the fact that Savage laid him out, he was out for months, and then he came back. There was that story there. And then they capped it off with a great match in the ring. So to me, that's everything. And I think professional wrestling is missing that nowadays. Why? I don't know. I do feel like some people get a pass because some fans accept that. That's just what they're into. There's nothing wrong with that. Me, I feel like there should be a little bit more focus on building these superstars. And some people are superstars and some people aren't. That's just how it is.
Rohit,
I don't know, that's my opinion.
Do you think it could be because back then guys wrote their own promos and, they knew their characters more. And when you had writers come in, like with The Rock would really sit down and kind of, put his promo out there, in his own words, and he'd have some writers, dust it up for him. I think today's generation, they've got so they rely so much on the writers to come up with a promo so they don't become, creative about their characters. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that's the reason why there's not a lot of good promos in the business?
I agree.
I would think so.
Yeah,
I think it's care. I think it's I'm a fan of the story, the characters. So I will watch more of the interview and the lead up than I will the match, because the way it's supposed to go down, or the way that it plays out. So that's sort of important. Yeah, you remind me like the combination of like The Rock and a Ric Flair, where you're gonna do whatever it takes. But why is Ric Flair so great? He was a great wrestler. It's that he knew how to tell a story, and he knew. I mean, everybody does the woo, and everybody does the shuffle, and everybody does, and it's because he knew who he was, and like you said, maybe it'll be different, but I think it's how much control. It's probably the same thing as in acting or anything else when people take roles, is that if they've written that role or written the story, and you see guys that have been delved into the character, right, for years and years and years. I mean, you look at The Undertaker, you know what I'm saying? It's like that's the one the character out of the wrestling that just transcends, because it's less is more.
Right. There's so much charisma. There was so much charisma back then, as far as like Stone Cold and Kurt Angle.
Oh, Stone Cold is my guy. I was Stone Cold. Dano was The Rock, and we'd always just chirp each other. And then I hit him with a stunner, and then he'd come around the corner.
Goddamn, kid. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like we're there with them. That was pretty awesome.
I walk around every day in my house cutting promos. That's legit. Honestly, Impact finally gave me the chance to cut promos after God knows how long, after 3 years. And I knocked it out of the park because I got a bunch of feedback from a lot of people that they weren't on board. And they're like, this guy can talk. Why don't you ever let him talk like this? And I just need them to give me the mic more, because that's my way of thinking those are my guys. That's my inspiration. I want to be like those guys. And that's what I want to bring to the table. A buddy of mine, he goes, well, you say the catchphrase. They didn't like a catchphrase because maybe they don't want promos like that. And I said, dude, who says catchphrases anymore? Nobody does. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to end my every promo with the same catchphrase, because sooner or later, people are going to be saying that catchphrase. They're going to be singing along with it because it's catchy. But they were like, no, we don't want that. And it's just like, okay, well, what can I do? You know what I mean? So that's my opinion, though.
That's what you do. You sneak it in.
Pull a Rhino. That's what he did. But did he talk about that last week? You just grab the mic and start talking.
Yeah. I'm glad you were listening, Gary. You are a good friend.
I had to go back and watch it, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was the only one.
You're such a big fan. You went back and watched it again. See, I don't look. He's watching. He's making sure.
It's all about learning. It's all about learning and getting better.
He was just watching himself. He's like,
I
was trying to change the angle on the TV to see, whatever made my eyes pop, whatever.
Right. Don't worry, I do the same thing. This isn't a real tan. I spray tan.
He's giving blue steel the entire time in the camera.
Don't tell us your secrets.
Right. Can't tell all the secrets. So, hey, what are some of the best catchphrases out there?
Right now?
No, like of all time, you think?
I think, that's one of them.
The bottom line.
Yes.
The bottom line.
Of course, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
Right.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I mean, everyone does that.
Have you ever been on any indie shows with Hacksaw?
Yes.
He'll come out of that curtain and he'll do that even if he's going over to the table to sign and stuff, and the whole crowd does it. Holy cow. After all these years, people love it. I caught myself doing it.
But that's the brilliance, though, is that you guys, it's the more wrestlers and guys that get into it, it's because the pure fandom of it. Like you're pure, at the end of the day, you are the one sitting in the crowd. And I love hearing, you know, like I said, to take back the curtain a little bit, but, you know, they got the WWE backstage, or they have, you know, where social media allows people to get to know you a little bit more and the different characters. And that's the sheer brilliance of it, that you catch yourself, you know, going back, you know, with all the watching videos or whatever else of old things about why, that's why it is, you know, like Shawn Michaels.
I mean, the hilarious thing to me is so Hacksaw at Motor City Comic Con a few years ago, we did an interview with Hacksaw, and it's like you can see the light flip, like the light switch flip, like, you know, we're doing, and he's, you know, he has this great, you know, he has a normal voice and he just talks like this. We're doing the interview and life's good, and then we're like, hey, can we get a drop for the show, you know, so we can put in an intro? And he was like, oh yeah, sure, what do you guys want? And nice and mellow. And then, like, as soon as he was ready to record that, like, the light switch came on and he, you know, yells out, oh, and did the entire, like, the whole warehouse that Motor City Comic Con is in, like, shouts it back at him. It was ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
That's so awesome.
Now, Darren, when like with hockey, do you guys go back and watch old films and stuff? Do you watch players from the generations prior to see how they skated, what worked, what didn't work? Because a lot of wrestlers, they'll go back and they'll watch stuff, you know, from generations prior, and they'll take moves and stuff. Do you guys ever do that? Like watch tapes of what worked, or is that more of coaching?
More coaching, but in systems, right? Systems and breakouts and power plays and penalty killings. You're going to dial down on what the other team does or what you want to do against them. You know, simple things as far as a power play where you have 5 guys and they have 4. Do they do a box, which are 2 and 2, or do they do a triangle, which is 1, 1, and 2 on the side? So you're going to attack it differently. You know, that stuff's a lot, you know, between your teammates, or if you're at practice or stuff like that, guys are trying different moves. You know, how do you do that? Or, you know, what are you thinking when you do that? Or just, you know, like the execution, or, you know, like just different deeks, or what you'll really, you know, guys will go back and forth. Like if you played against a guy, or if you remember scoring against a goalie on a breakaway or on a move or whatever, you know, certain guys you'll go through that. Or in fighting, right, you go through the lineup and go, well, this guy's a righty, this guy's a lefty, I might have to, you know, you got to look down the lineup to see, don't forget who's not in the lineup, right? You don't want to end up dropping your gloves at somebody and then, you know, like me, and then you think he's a righty and he hits you with the left, and then you know, it ruins your day.
Right. Hey, but if there's a hot chick in the audience, it's all worth it.
I'm good, baby. That's why it's to have a cement head, but to bleed all over the place.
Hey, speaking of fighting, since you've been in a couple fights, is it more strategic, or is it more like, this guy just pissed me off, I'm gonna have to beat his ass?
Most of the time there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a calculation. You know, a few times is it personal, like a Lemieux, or sometimes you're mad at the guy because of something that happened in the game, or you're chirping at each other and it's a boiling point to it. But other times it's, you know, your team's down and, you know, you're looking to spark your team, or, you know, you're looking to stay in the lineup, or, you know, there's so many, the mentality behind it and why to do it or why not to do it. Because sometimes, you know, you're better off if you're up and somebody wants to fight, but you're up in the game, you don't want to give them momentum, so you might turn it off till, you know, later on. Other times than that, you know, you try to get a point across late in the game when the game's out of reach for the next time you play each other. It's sort of like, it's like the real life, sort of like the version of the story you're trying to tell, except that it's playing out, you know, there's no storyline. Nobody's written it. It's happening in real life, and then you're just adapting to it.
Right.
But and then I got one of the greatest storylines written by the big fella, that March 26, 97, the whole Lemieux being able to beat his ass and get the revenge,
yeah,
stay in the game and score the overtime goal. That's the whole That's a whole God shot kicker, right? So that's a great script, but I mean, it's so great that that not even the greatest directors could have written that script.
Right.
I couldn't. You could have said to me, write it any way you want, where you're the hero of of this and that, and I would have missed it.
Right. Yeah, like you even said in the I don't know if the documentary, The Russian Five, like you even said, like Hollywood couldn't have even written it better. And and going back and watching it, and with wrestling, sometimes, well, most of the times we have control of the story, and sometimes things happen where the story takes a different turn and you run with something, like the slip of the tongue with Austin, Austin 3:16, and it just worked. But the good thing about like hockey and other sports, there's a science behind it. It sounds like what you were saying with the coaches and, like putting people together and this and that, and, that fans don't see, and then when you really dig deep into the sport, you see the science behind it. And like you were saying, you might want to level a guy to set up for the next time, throw him off base and off kilter, for the next time you guys face each other down the road. So, you guys, there's a story behind it too. And, and matchups and stuff like that. When you build that story, it creates interest into, real sports like hockey or football and baseball, because if you didn't have that story, I don't think you would have that much excitement. The athleticism and going to win is exciting, but if you have a story behind it, oh man, like look at the home run race in '98, I think it was. That created a lot of interest in baseball again.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean that's such the truth, and I guess that would be the same way, is that the coaches are trying to put the lines together, or the D pairing together, who complement each other, and it's like when you guys who you can see chemistry not only like in the ring, or when you hear wrestlers talking about the different chemistry they had, like Bret Hart was saying that him and Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, could have wrestled in their sleep, because it's
Right.
like in hockey and I'll take the grind line, Chris Draper and Kirk Maltby together, is because we just reacted. We didn't have to think. We knew where the other guy was, and that got to help telling the story too, when how the other guy operates, or on the same thing behind the scenes, exiting the dressing room, when you guys are more confident in your opponent or your storyteller on the opposite end, it plays out better for all of us, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Speaking of scripts, what's the script for Rohit? Well, what would you write for your story coming up?
I honestly don't know where it's headed. Literally today I pitched something. I've asked, because if you pay attention to my career there, it has been it's been in a slump, since day one. And they've been trying to do little things here and there. And I was like, okay, well, what are we doing, guys? Where are we going with this? Something's got to give. And it started to go to where it was a losing streak, getting frustrated until I'm like, screw it. Now I have a chip on my shoulder, and now I'm angry. I'm not like funny anymore. I'm not trying to be like the bad kid anymore. Now I'm intense. You know what I mean? I shaved the mohawk off. Now I'm ready. But it was going one way, and then it kind of took a backseat at the last set of tapings, so I don't know where they're going with it. I asked, and I don't think they know, so I couldn't tell you. If it was up to me, which I did pitch today to them, I would say, well, it's time to make a change. It's time to do something totally different, where if it is me having these temper tantrums in the ring, this breaking down, it needs to be where I'm cutting a promo, but I'm cutting the promo to myself, saying, look, I need your help. You need to step up. You need to help me do this. You need to help me do that. And it's me talking to myself, cutting this promo, and I'm literally trying to hype myself up. And then I become, instead of coming out in these glittery robes, this jacket that I normally come out in, I'm coming out in a black vest with something on the back. And instead of like the shiny, knee pads, it's black. And then I've been slowly trying to transition into that, but now who knows, it could change into something different depending on where they want to go. But that's kind of what I pitched. And then it should be into where I've been angry, throwing these fits of rage. Now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take it serious. But then these fits of rage still come out, but then I kind of snatch it real quick and act like I'm in control, but I'm not really in control. And it's now of a more serious character that is intent on winning, and he's more vicious than he is sneaky. And now he's just going all out, and his rage, he's trying to bottle up that rage that's kind of been out of control. And that's where I kind of wanted to go with it. So I pitched that. I don't know what they'll do. Wrestling never owes you anything. However, and I've told him this, and I feel like my body of work and the fact that I can cut a promo and do these things, I am worthy of being a mid guy and not a bottom guy. And I've been a bottom guy for 3 years. It's time for me to elevate. Because if not, the name Rohit Raju is not going to have any value outside for me. Because I still do indie shows and stuff like that, but I do it under Hakeem Zayn, and I kind of do that gimmick, that chip on the shoulder gimmick outside of other places, and it's been working. And so that is what makes me money outside, is that character. The character of Rohit, he's such a bottom character that he really doesn't have that value that a lot of people see. So there's no money in that, you know what I mean? So now it's time, let's get some steam behind it so I can make that a product, and I can make that a brand. And not only will it be a brand outside, but it will be a brand for Impact, and then we can start building. That's what I hope to happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, one good thing about that is like the indies and the live events, guys can always work on their persona, their mic skills, their abilities, and see what works, and then they can take it to TV. That's usually how it always goes, and that's a great thing about Impact. One of the many great things about Impact is, and wrestling nowadays, if one thing's not working, don't hit the panic button, try, and if it doesn't work, you can change it up, as long as you don't go too drastic. And fans will get behind you because they know who works hard, who goes in there and he'll do the smaller indie shows and loves the business. It really shows. And, and the one of the good things about you, Rohit, is, you've been working, a lot. And you're a guy that you'll work in front of 100 people, 30 people, or you'll work in front of 4,000, 40,000, it doesn't matter. You're out there to work and you love wrestling. And, the cool thing about it is once you dial it in, and in today's world of wrestling, you can dial it in like that, and people get behind you. So
I like to, going back to what we were saying earlier about promos, Impact does that. They give us bullet points, but they let us cut what promos we want and say the verbiage that we want, which is it's so much fun, and it's easier. They're like, okay, this is what we want you to say, but say it how you want to say it. And this is the point we just want you to get across. And it's so comfortable and easier being able to do that. And that's a plus.
Character. Yeah, and you learn your character, and it comes across better. When you're trying to read something for, a writer gives you, you can tell, you look like a B-rated actor. You know?
Could you imagine if they gave hockey players microphones?
I can't wait to July.
Right?
The way, dude, we got, that Sammy Callahan did. I mean, like Ken Shamrock took it easy on him and stuff like that. He's not jumping you from behind. I'm sick and goddamn tired of having all this stuff. Is looking at my boy Rhino have a fair fight. Now, don't get it twisted. I can see, Madman Fulton, thank God we're not on skates, but I kick his ass up. Out of the ring. That's why I got the Gore Man, and he's going to take care of it now. Sammy, him and I, that little weasel, we can figure it out. But there's going to be no shenanigans there July 16th when I'm there. So that's all I want to say. Now, what I would say to you, sir, is that, what you've developed in your character so far is that's, the spoiled, sneaky guy, whatever. What you just told me is that you can go so many places with that from the block or whatever, because what it is, it's all self-awareness. Like as the fan, you're morphing in front of them, and what do they what do they like? They like the realness, you know.
Yeah.
Why do I always say enjoy my truth. The brilliance of me living my life when I played as public as I did, good, bad, or indifferent, that people know that, like, I don't give a fuck, right? Like, I mean, like, what you think about me is none of my business, because I've gone through the war and it's taken me this long to find out who I am. And I got the people around me that, you know, you go through that and you learn that. And if, like you said, you have this ability of taking life and using it as that motivation, you can almost help the way the world, the life into like the character where they're used to. And I love seeing that. And it's, but when a guy believes it, when you see him doing that, and there's some of that realness to him where it's that I could say, oh, here's the character, but this is part of the person. Like that's what has always been like Rhino, right? Like Terry's character Rhino has always been ham hocks.
Yeah.
Ham hocks, right? Like if we're not gonna let's get it going, and we're gonna settle this as like you're not walking in to where Rhino is and 100%, I don't care who you are, not knowing that somebody's gonna get messed up. There's gonna be a fight. Right? Like, I mean, you don't bring like, I mean, until Terry now when Terry comes out, then we're in, you know, in the office and stuff like that, which is the great
business picks up
dichotomy of what you can, you know what I mean? And that's the beauty. So hopefully I, as a fan, hopefully like be watching that. I love to see stuff, you know, come to fruition because people believe in what you said is like Impact sort of wants you to embrace and do it yourself. So hopefully they give you the opportunity, because that's the whole thing. You're just looking for, bro, just give me a chance.
Just give me the ball.
But you've already proven, but it sounds like when you cut that promo and they realize, because you can understand this too, is that even the smartest guys, when they realize that sometimes they're wrong or they don't see it right, but when they see it right because it is right, they're not afraid to change it. Right? Or to go with it or go with the flow, right?
Yeah. And the great thing about Impact is there's a lot of opportunities there, you know, to develop your character, to work on your character and what your character would do. Because if you create your character, it's going to come across a lot better. And you know, and that's a great thing, you know. So that's one thing I really like about Impact. A lot of opportunities there.
Speaking of July 16th.
Yes, let's talk about July 16th.
Yeah, what is July 16th, Terry?
July 16th is Insane Wrestling Revolution coming back to the FOP. Darren McCarty's going to be in my corner. We had to postpone the show. Rohit, you've worked a show for us over there.
Yes.
Yeah, and we are going to have it outdoors. Behind, they have a lot of land out there.
I can't jump out of that tree. If we're outdoors, I told you.
Well, there goes that. We'll try something else.
Right. But if there is a tree, I'm putting the ring underneath the tree and we're putting a rope swing.
Yeah.
I spend most of my time swinging on it.
I love it.
Yeah, we're
July 16th, it's going to be big. We talked to Scott over there at the FOP. They'll have booze and alcohol. I'm sorry, they'll have alcohol, they'll have pop, they'll have water, they'll have hot dogs, pizza. I believe they'll have pizza, all the normal stuff. They will be selling masks and gloves and hand sanitizer if you don't bring your own. So we'll have everybody spread out. It'll be a comfortable environment, except for those that get in the ring and they're looking at these.
Why you get a fair fight with that guy? Gosh darn, those guys keep jumping in.
Well, you'll make it fair.
So, I saw you take a chair shot the other day, bro, and that one hurt.
Right.
But Gary says that every chair shot you take, you deserve. So I don't
everyone.
That Gary guy. You know, Gary said he was going to run my campaign, but I'm the one over here putting stamps on mailers. Gary texted me, he goes, "Are you putting stamps on mailers?" And I'm like, well, I got to get it done, man.
Hey, I told you to bring them over.
Yeah, no, you did. But Gary's going to put out the yard signs.
Oh, what?
Right. He said that. Get gored. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it's got to come out somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. What do you got going there, Terry? Show us one of your flyers. You got one?
Yeah, I've got one. I'll show you the back.
Look at that.
Ooh, look at that bow tie, looking sweet.
Guys, I don't know if you can see that, but
Then I'll show you the front.
On it, he's using the name that he was given by his mother. And the it's Terrence. Now, that means it's really serious.
That's right.
Serious. That's the serious side when we're talking Terrence.
Right.
That's the brilliance of what we're all talking about is like I tell everybody, said you don't get it. All the different wrestling, it's like it's soap operas. So it's the greatest story. If you can get into the vortex of what they're doing, because they all have it's all a different restaurant, right? But it's the same. But when you see the passion or you see what they're trying to do, and I like it where it's like, that doesn't work, but good effort. You know what I'm saying? Like I see the effort, but no, that's not going to be around or what angle. I love people trying to take chances when they are passionate about it.
Right.
The bottom line is, you know it, that you've been in it long enough that the key is, doesn't matter if we're talking about treasure or talking about wrestling, what do you put in? What's the hard work? So you believe in it and the self-awareness and this is what I'm trying to do.
And that's another thing, like wrestling relates to a lot of things in life, like, for example, we were talking about there's a story, find the story in a hockey game or a feud, find the story in, what's the story in a wrestling angle. And really like a campaign. And that's why a lot of wrestlers, they get involved in their community. And when they run a campaign, the strategy of the campaign, what's the story? Who are you? Okay, you're a hard worker. It shows because you've made it to a level in wrestling that just doesn't happen unless you work hard. And the same thing with sports. You don't get to a level where you've been by not working hard. And then, okay, well, you work hard. We see that. What are you going to do? And how are you going to accomplish it? What's the story? What the story is you, the person, the actual human being. That's why I use my full name. And I didn't, because sometimes you can get a nickname on a ballot, and I didn't want to put Rhino on there. But anyways, so the story is my hard work and what I've done and being involved, whether it's charity stuff outside of like WWE and Impact Wrestling, and so what have I done for communities and stuff like that, and how can I bring that to the table in Monroe Township? So that's so like wrestling is kind of like life. If you think about it. So
no, it's a great analogy, and it's also too because you know what, we all like to do different things, right? And don't get it twisted, is that when we're going to like if it's work as it is, like where the wrestlers, like that's where you don't think the wrestlers know exactly where it's at. And if we're talking about something in the community, we care just as much as somebody next door, just because I always like to say, what you do is not who you are.
Right. You do a lot of charity work, Darren, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
From when I played and we won the cups, my stepdad had multiple myeloma, and I started that McCarty Cancer Foundation back in '96, and he's passed away, but we were able to help co-fund $6.5 million, and so that when somebody's has multiple myeloma, they get 20, 30 years to live because they made that progress in it. But, now it's like people say, well, what charities do you support? And I'm like, name one, all of them, as many as I can. And it's all about the cause and it's about the story, from Pitbull Rescues to Rainbow Connection to the Jamie Daniels Foundation, who's Ken Daniels, play-by-play for the Wings, his son who, had opioid overdose, coming out of a rehab and in the wrong spot. So it's awareness. And, obviously everybody knows me, knows that I'm a huge advocate for cannabis because it saved my life. So, marching my flag with that because, it's like anything we're talking about. it's not whether you do or don't. It's to know you have an option. And
Right.
2020, and it's like what Terry is saying. It's the option. It's the option. All these are just different options from watching wrestling to more serious stuff like who do you want, taking care of your community and different things like that. But it's at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's about people, right?
Right.
Matter. Red,
And
yellow,
helping them.
black, white, green doesn't, from wherever. And I'm fortunate enough that I grew up in the United Nations of the Detroit Red Wings locker room, so my perception is jilted of all the world and all different languages and religions and races and stuff like that. So I'm blessed, but it's something that not everybody was privy to and stuff, and I really respect that and do that. So to be able to listen and just to know that you care and I'm no different than anybody else. I think that's trying to surround yourself and have the conversations and meet people, new people, old friends, and talk about what's going on, because this is how, in my opinion, if you want to make a difference, then don't talk about it, be about it.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Where's that mask at?
Oh,
Yeah. I was hoping.
I gotta get it. So this is it's called Mash Swag USA.
I like that so much better.
Nice.
You like that?
Look at that.
Oh, there, my God.
He stayed safe.
Hey, this is a look that's like, all right, this is like Rhino goes like this. I just those looks a lot better too.
That's awesome.
Not straighter.
It's so realistic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna have to wrap it up. But why don't you guys, Rohit, start with you. Why don't you tell the fans where they can find you at and what you got coming up?
Right there in the corner there, at Hakeem Zain on Twitter, Raju Zain80 on Instagram, and you can always just Google Rohit Raju or Hakeem Zain on Facebook and YouTube and find me on there. But of course, every Tuesday you will catch me on Impact Wrestling, to me the most underrated wrestling program going today, with the hardest working roster in professional wrestling today. You can catch me every Tuesday night on Twitch or, of course, Access TV.
Get that guy a microphone, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You need to talk more.
I love
Darren.
it. We could do some stuff. We could trash talk some guys right out of the league.
We could, man. I'm all about it.
Dude, I'm all about it too. I mean, like, who's the great? I told Rhino, I don't like. I mean, I can take a bump. I get it and stuff like that, but I just want to chirp guys. I said Paul Hyman's got the greatest gig in the world. For some meathead that can't talk, you look at all Jake Roberts back in doing all that. Hey, you get, because think about it. You could have like Bobby the Brain and the Jimmy Hart and the mouthpiece, the chirp as the action goes on. These guys are MFing each other ringside. My head would blow off. Where it's not, like all the different things behind it. It'd be just a shit show. The wrestling, the guys in the ring would be going, hey, I thought we were the show. And no, it's anything else. Anyways, Grind Time with Darren McCarty, DarrenMcCarty.com. Obviously, Pink Canna. Got a lot of stuff. Grind Time Podcast on Instagram, Grind Time DMAC25, Twitter, and Grind Time with Darren McCarty on Facebook. And I'll be around.
Yeah, we'll definitely see you July 16th.
I'm in training. Callahan.
Let's see those guns.
Or 2697. Google me.
Darren, let's see those guns. Let's see those guns.
Look at that. Looks like someone's leg.
See?
Ooh,
We're coming after
trouble.
you, Madman Fulton and Sammy Callahan.
I'm bringing my stick, by the way. I told you, I'm bringing my stick.
Right.
I'm bringing my stick. I got Zdeno Chara's stick. He's the captain of Boston. He's like 7 feet tall. This thing's like this tall. It's like steel. I almost blew my arm out when I tried to flex it, so I'm going to hit you with that if you mess up.
Okay. There you go.
I just want a fair fight. You beat my boy, you beat my boy. You're better that day. I don't care. You can beat us, but we're not going to lose to you. We don't lose to either.
There it is.
And we also got to talk about next week's guest, former Detroit Tiger, hitting extraordinaire Dimitri Young. So we'll have him on next week.
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that should be a fun time. I look forward to actually talking to Dimitri.
Right.
And
He'd wake up.
Gary?
What's that?
Where can we find you besides licking stamps?
definitely won't be knocking on doors, maybe hanging door hangers up. But yeah, right here, baby.
Right here. Terry and Gary's Low Expectations podcast on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
And if you're in Monroe Township, vote for Terrence Guido. Vote Terrence Guido Guerin for treasurer or trustee.
For trustee. That's why I'm running the campaign.
No, I see a boat pulling in, and I drew a mental blank. So yeah.
You better get out there and make that money. Hey, everybody! Thanks for coming in today.
Right.
Great having you, Rohit.
Thanks for having me, man. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I love chatting with you guys.
Meeting you, brother.
You too, bro.
Darren twice.
I already am, but now I feel like now that I know you, dude, I'll be like, I'm all in. So thanks, Gary. You get to you know what you need to do, bro. We only got a month left, so I don't, go sell those tickets and lick those stamps, Gary.
Yeah.
Get on.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, Gary. Thanks, bud.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye.